Yeah, it's totally different.
I've not seen this one. I don't recognize it. This was my baby. I think almost time away.
So I think we can start.
Yes.
And I didn't start on the right way because I put the wrong date there.
We're gonna pretend like it's not there.
Yeah, maybe we are already next week. So today we are going to talk about the antenatal concept. I think we have 2 hours for this. It's not going to take 2 hours. I'm not sure even if it's going to take 1 hour. But I thought we have time at the end. We can do a little bit of simulation. If you guys are okay. And we can do like a consult. But if you guys are okay. So my objective, this is going to be quite general because we cannot talk about the every antenatal consult, because I'll show you there are like hundreds of different kind of topics for antenatal consults. But I want to highlight the importance of preparation. You need to prepare for antenatal consult. I want to highlight how you set the tone and the ways that you give information. There are different ways. What's the ways that are more gentle to give information? What are the most important topics to discuss with the families? The most common questions. We are not going to talk about this concept is not only like refer to prematurity, but we are going to talk a little bit more on prematurity because it's the type of concepts we see more frequently, I would say. But it's not in my objectives to talk about limits of viability and ethic questions, because there was a presentation by Julie Embry not so far ago, and it was excellent. So I'm not going to talk about the same text, right? So antenatal consult, when are we involved as neonatologists? When problems with that fetus are anticipated, may involve interview with the family alone or with other people, depending on what the consult is about. Let's say the consult is about the gastroschisis or diaphragmatic hernia, surgery will be involved. You'll see in when we do the fetal rounds of genetics is involved lots. Yeah. Sometimes you need to involve palliative care. They are extremely good with those concepts. Usually when we have those that, let's say it's trisomy 18, when you have to take a difficult decision because the mortality is extremely high, the life expectancy is short, and you need to explain all the possibilities to the family. So palliative care are usually present with us, and they are extremely useful. Neurosurgery, let's say you have a case of congenital hydrocephalus, so malformation.
I'll just admit Dr. Chu, I think he's waiting.
So cardiology, you see that all the time, right? With ladies with cardiac issues. Usually cardiology, they do an ultrasound and they give us a plan to follow. So the best way to do it is to do it at the same time, but many times you can't do it at the same time. And you go and see the consult, and you have like something written already by cardiology or by genetics and you need to know. And then why are we important? Because we need to explain what's the prognosis, the postnatal care, and how long the baby will stay in hospital, the long-term outcomes. And then we are important in making decisions. Many times we go to a fetal assessment consult and the question is, should this baby be delivered in Winnipeg or can this baby be delivered in the hometown, in Boundary Trails, let's say? And you need to say, well, no, it's better to have this baby delivered here. And those are the place of delivery could look very stupid thing for us, but could be a very important decision for the family. Because if they have 5 more kids in Boundary Trails and they don't have any family or moving here, it could be a big issue. And usually it's 2 settings when we do the consult. It's a follow the fetal assessment unit or inpatient. And you have probably seen both, be part of both. Most common concepts in preterm birth is they call us all the time. Right? And the reason for preterm birth could be many. Spontaneous rupture of membranes, spontaneous labor, IUGR, multiple, so they are at risk. Some of them, let's say spontaneous rupture of membranes, they are not contracting, but they are at risk of delivery soon, so they call us to advise that family and to have a plan. When labor, they are in labor or a UTR, and they are expecting that they are going to be delivered before because there are problems with their ultrasound, the Dopplers, multiples, chromosomal abnormalities, cardiac abnormalities, kidney, renal tract, brain abnormalities, cleft lip and palate, spina bifida, isolated ventriculomegaly, complicated twin pregnancy with those twin-to-twin transfusion. One is much bigger than the other, one any problem, IUTR, gastroschisis, skeletal dysplasias, torch infections that have been diagnosed in utero, diaphragmatic hernia, echogenic bowel, clubfoot, cystic hygroma, chest mass, hydro, bowel obstruction, polyhydramnios, autoimmune thrombocytopenia, or any kind of other antibodies, those that we have RH issues or any other blood issue. So you see that this a lot. And when you go to the consults, depending on the consults, what I do, and I even put some of them when they call us for some malformations that I have no idea, or query so-and-so syndrome that I need to Google and what is this? Because I don't know. And so every consult is different and you need to prepare. So what are the main objectives of the consult? You need to provide information to the family because if I don't know what that syndrome is, the family probably doesn't know either. But many times they Google before I did, so they know more than me. You need to make a plan too, right? It's not only information, so you need to prepare for that delivery. So where to delivery, if the neonatal team should go to the delivery or not. If you need any investigations, consults after birth, and what's initial management. So sometimes, it's a quite common consult, at least for me, the CCAMs, the cystic adenoma or CPAM, and those CPAM is shrinking, so you have a mass in one of the lungs that is shrinking, and most of those babies are asymptomatic after birth. And so depending on how it is, you could decide, well, maybe the team, better to go, the team, to see if the baby does have any respiratory distress. But then, if asymptomatic, can go to the mother and we'll order an X-ray and then a CT scan, a consult with surgery, a CT scan will be done at 6 months of age. You make your plan. Let's say it's Dandy Walker malformation or something. You can say, well, I can, usually they are okay when they are born. We don't even need to go, maybe after delivery, somebody to examine the baby and see, and then we can follow with the mother if there are no apneas, if you can stay there. So you make your plan depending on what's going on, right? But it's very important to share the information. And so when you have those deliveries, what you do, the first thing you do is you look for the prenatal consult, right? Because usually there is a plan there. And usually the person who did the prenatal consult already reviewed all the data, and that's why the consults, and you don't want to change plans that have been discussed with families. So important to know, to share information. So one of those letters will come to us, but the copy of those letters will go to the obstetrician, the family physician, which is somebody that sometimes is forgotten, needs to know, because the family physician is the doctor who's going to see that baby more often, and they could have questions for them, and they are the person who the family probably knows the most. So they need to know, and NICU and the fetal assessment and everybody. So first, we need to collect all the information we have. We have to discuss that with the family, and we follow questions, document the plan, and arrange other consults and investigations. That will be the summary, but I'm going to do that. And I put these pictures from the net because to me the most important in the consult is to listen more than talk. Because sometimes and it happens to me many times, and it happens to me in the prenatal consults and here when I talk to the families, that you have in your mind something that you think you need to tell because you think it's important for the family. And when you ask the family, if they have questions, they come up with a totally different question that you didn't even think about. And for that family, it's probably more important than what you thought it was important. So that's why you put the listen, and that they put collect information. So you need to review all the charts and scans. Determine the degree of certainty or uncertainty. So in most of the concepts, you don't have those big ethical decisions of should we resuscitate, shouldn't we resuscitate. I would say 90% of the cases you don't have that, right? Because let's say you have your daughter and it's a 33-weeker. I'm not going to sit with you and talk, oh, should we resuscitate, right? Or with a CPAM, yeah, usually you don't, but there are some cases where you need to, and in some cases you are not sure what's going on. They see some malformations, but you are not sure about the degree or what's going on. So important to know. Important to know what parents know already. What is the family situation? Do they live here? Do they live outside? Do they have children? Cultural beliefs, background, because the tone of the consult will be different. Then you discuss and you ask the parents what they know, what they investigated by themselves. You explain the problem. You explain what is going to happen when the baby is born, what's going to happen in ICU, and you explain what is an ICU because people don't need to know what an ICU is. possible treatments, who will be looking after the baby, who will be provide updates, presence of importance of the presence in an ICU, visitation, because we'll go through that. That's a very important question that parents usually have. Then you explain the expected course, how long will the baby stay with, how long we think, because you're never sure the baby will need to be in hospital, what's the criteria for discharge, uncertainties, survival rates, prognosis short and long term, depending on the case, right? Because again, in a 34-week, you're not going to talk about disabilities. And then allow questions and then document. We said that. And sometimes you need to do other concepts. Let's say you realize that you need to consult the social worker or neurosurgery, because neurosurgery has not been consulted yet or whatever. So I would say that was all you need to know, but I'm going to develop because we have to talk about at least 45 minutes about it. So when you collect information, it's very important that you are the more accurate you can, and that the information you give to the family is consistent. It's not good if the obstetrician said, I'm very worried about the survival of this fetus, and I don't know what's going to happen. But you go and you say, oh, well, 27 weeks, everything will be fine. So probably there is a reason the obstetrician said that. You need to know, and if you don't agree, you need to ask, why did you say that? Because probably there is a reason, and you need to know. You need to review your numbers, statistics, and we'll go through that. Some people, depending on the person, some people want to know statistics and numbers. Some other people don't care, and they get confused. They don't want to know, so you need to ask them what they want, but you need to know your numbers.
Sorry, would you like questions at the end, or is it okay if we?
Oh, interact, yes.
Oh, thank you. Just, do you have like sources that are valid, the Canadian data?
We'll go through it. I have everything prepared. Yes, I do.
Oh, perfect.
Many times, and you need an interpreter because English is not that family starting language. And many people, they can communicate well in like normal life, but they prefer to have an interpreter when these difficult conversations come or with medical terms. So arrange, and you need time to arrange that. So you need to know that. Usually when you go to the fetal assessment, they do everything they already know, and they usually already arrange the interpreter for you. And we'll go through that because I do have resources. I did. Okay. And sometimes, if the conversation is difficult, it's important for that if the mother is alone to have a support person, which could be the father of the baby or could be any other person, a family member, a friend. So let's say, so you reviewed all your information. You went to the sources of the numbers because you want to have the numbers in your mind. And Sometimes what I do, let's say, is in my formation, anatomical formation. I myself, I am a very visual person, so I need to, if you show me a drawing, I understand much better than if you explain me. So what I try to do is I try to print drawings from internet. Or I draw, but I don't draw very well, so I try to print something so I can show and explain. So I try to have that pen. And then if the person doesn't want to see drawings, I just don't show it. I just ask them. But that is something that can help you. So you have your information, you prepare yourself, and then you need to set the tone and the environment. So the first line, no interruptions, no pages. Impossible here, right? You go to the physical assessment, and every time I go to the physical assessment unit, I will have at least 2 or 3 Vocera calls. But ideally, no interruptions, no pages, privacy, right? You don't want to be talking in the middle of the corridor, and that's why they have those very nice rooms in the physical assessment unit, where you close the door and you can talk. And if you are going to a room, privacy is important too. So sometimes, not now with COVID, but in the old times, if you go and there are visitors there, you ask the visitors to go away, and then you ask the person if they want somebody of those visitors. But you need to ask the person when the people are outside, so they don't feel obliged to say yes, right? Introduce yourself, who you are, right? Remember, many times those people you are talking to are under a big amount of stress, and if you don't talk slowly and very clearly, they are going probably not to understand, because stress makes you to not understand and forget, right? To introduce, ask for the name. Let's say it's the mother. You usually know the name of the mother because you have it in the chart. But maybe the father or the partner is there. So it's nice to know their names. And they feel like that you're talking to them too, right? Shake hands. I don't remember when was the last time I shook hands with anybody. Now with the COVID. And then even without COVID, sometimes it's inappropriate to shake hands, depending on the religion or cultural issues. So you have to be careful with that. And then, to me, the important thing is to talk about that fetus as a person, because we tend to forget that. We tend to think that is a astrothesis, it's only a heart. But for the family, it's a person, right?
Yeah.
So if they know the gender, I always ask if they know and if they want to tell me. But sometimes they don't want to say, or sometimes they don't want to know. So I can say he or she, and if they have a name, and if they want to tell you the name. Because it's always better to refer as a person, so to say little John or whatever. But again, that depends on the religion or the beliefs, because in some cultures they choose the name after the baby is born, right? So many times they didn't even have a chance to think about the name because it's happened so suddenly. So you just ask. And then, very, very, very important, you sit down. And you need to be at the same level of the person. You never be higher than the person. And sitting down tells the other person that you are there, that you don't mind spending time there, that you are not in a rush to leave, and that you're going to answer all their questions. So if there is not a chair, and try to get closer to the person. So if there is not a chair in the room, just bring a chair from somewhere, but you need to sit. And look at all the members of the family, and that's something I need to remind myself all the time, because I tend to look at the mother. The father is important too, or the other person, the support person, because they are part of the family too. So the conversation is between the group, not only with the mother. And this last line happened to me with COVID a lot, because we had a moment, mostly at St. Boniface, where they didn't allow, they allowed only one person to come to a hospital. So using FaceTime speakers, I had one consult with palliative care because it was a trisomy 18. So this poor lady came to a physical assessment to talk to us, and her husband had to be in the car with a 2-year-old. They would have allowed it, because for this situation, they would have allowed this poor man to come, but they didn't have any person to take care of the 2-year-old, and they wouldn't allow the 2-year-old to come. So we did FaceTime with that poor 2-year-old in a car, 20 minutes into the concert. Poor little guy was crazy, crying. And it wasn't the best situation, but it's what we could do. Some time ago, I went to a room, and it was this teenager that was with preterm labor, and it was COVID. She was 5 years old. So I started talking. I asked her, "How are you?" whatever, and she asked me, "Well, you know, I would prefer my mother to be here with me." And so I said, "Well, why don't you call her, and we'll put her on speakers, and we need a contact with the grandmother of the child." And so you need to adapt a little bit to the different situations.
Cecilia, can I ask something? In my country, we did this. We follow these rules, almost, not everything. And sometimes parents want to get recourse what you are talking. Is it allowed? Because in the future, sometimes not every people, but sometimes they can use this recourse against you.
Yeah.
Is it allowed in your country?
Or I don't know. I don't know if anybody else hearing, but personally, I would say no, because then I'm thinking, you don't know if they can edit that and change what you said. So I would say that conversation is confidential for all of us, and I wouldn't allow to record it. But I don't know legally or not, but I think you have the right, right?
Yeah.
Say no.
But sometimes you cannot notice what they.
They can do it without you noticing
Yeah.
that, but that you can do nothing. Yeah, well, right, that's an issue that you could have when you allow those devices, right? Yeah, that's true. But I think in some cases, and mostly with COVID, I couldn't say no to that, right? Because I felt those people that needed that. Yeah, but you're right, it's something to think about, and yeah.
This culture is very open-minded and I admire, but sometimes we need to protect ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The other way to protect yourself is documenting in written very well, right? After you finish. And again, so we talk a lot, and 99% of the time you won't have issues. Everything will go fine. It's not a very difficult conversation. Yeah, but maybe for some of them.
Especially the baby has lots of anomaly or difficult situation, they can be refuse the situation.
Yeah, they can deny, right?
Yeah.
And we see, and that's something that happens. That it happened to me several times. That there are many malformations. The obstetricians are very worried about the survival. There are lots of uncertainties. And then you sit down to talk, and they say, "Hey, my baby is going to live because God is going to protect him." And it's kind of, what are you going to say, right? So yeah, that's true.
Do you need anybody else than you in the room to be observe what's going on? Do you need someone
Well, not
other than family?
not legally, right? Not legally. Personally, when I think the family is a difficult one,
You consider.
yeah, that because the nurses tell you, well, they are very difficult, they have issues and they have been aggressive, and I ask one of the nurses to be with me.
Okay.
And sometimes I get the social worker. Yeah.
Keep the social worker closer.
And once I asked, a few months ago, there was this family at Zengi, and they came from Boundary Trails, for hypoglycemia, and there was this family situation, and they were very aggressive in Boundary Trails. They called names to everybody. The father was extremely aggressive. They came to Winnipeg. They were okay, but they were almost ready to go, and the baby had a seizure one night. So the next day, they were coming. I needed to sit down with them to explain them why this baby was not going home. So I asked the social worker, Alicia, to be with me and ask them what they are. Ask them. He said, "Don't worry, Cecilia, I'll be around."
Big brother.
So the family came. Everything went okay. But Axel disappeared.
As an effect, this is. They heard rumors that.
I don't know what happened. He was in the room, or he didn't even realize the family
Just
was
a
there.
figure.
So everything was okay. I saw us and said, "Thank you." But that's
Symbol of power.
And just a comment about looking at every family member, I think it gets extra challenging with the indigenous population because they're
because
quiet,
they don't look
down,
at you.
Yeah.
so it kind of gets challenging.
Yes, and that's something when I just came to Canada, something that shocked me because they because you start talking and they are not looking at you,
Yeah.
and you feel probably they don't want the information or they don't feel comfortable. But it's cultural.
Yeah.
Why they don't?
Yeah,
It's a sign of respect.
Sorry?
Could be a sign of respect
Yeah.
that they don't look
I
at
didn't
you,
know
so
that.
they look to
And I
you.
will say the same thing. We shared like the same cultural, how would I put it? Cultural,
Differences.
no. Cultural, cultural practices, like where from Africa, most of the time we don't maintain eye contact. Because we see you, like, especially if you are older than me, or you are somebody of authoritative power, like you're a doctor.
As a sign of respect.
As a sign of respect, we don't maintain eye contact. It's so difficult. I have to even learn it when I came here too. Like, because if you don't maintain eye contact, they see you as either dumb or you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
You are timid, or do you get what I'm saying? So I had to learn it. It's something that it's more of incorporated into culture, like a sign of respect. Especially when you're talking to somebody that is older than you, somebody in the authority, somebody that is in charge of your life, like a doctor, so.
so have that into consideration.
Mhm.
It's not that they are, because you could think that is the opposite. They are not being respectful to you because you are talking to them and they are not talking to you. No, you need to know that. Take it and respect them because it's
Sorry about that.
so yes, so you see lots of things you have to like kind of have into consideration. So when you go and talk to them, it's very important to ask them. And to me, so how do you deal with all those cultural issues, different things? To me, that's my personal belief is that you need to be open. And you need to ask them what you know, what you think, which is the best way I can help you, which is the best way you think I can give you the information. And most of the times they tell you. And then you have the people that have issues and those that are aggressive or under drugs or whatever, and they want to talk to you and they want to talk to you and that's okay. You can give the basic thing and leave the rest, right? And so asking about the personal beliefs, what they think is important, if you can, and if they let you do it, right? Address emotion. So, if you go into a room, and maybe what happened to you in any time, if you are, something is going on, you're under stress, and somebody comes and tells you, I feel it with you. I know what you're going through. And gives you relief, right? So telling them or telling this, oh, well, you were admitted, let's say, common. Everything went okay, but at 26 weeks, this lady started bleeding and she was admitted and her life changed overnight. So just saying, oh, I can see what you're going on. What do you do with your kids? Do you have anybody? I feel sorry you are under so much stress. With only that, make like addressing, like telling them, I know what's going on, or I really feel what you are feeling. Helps a lot. So address emotions. Or they can let's say that family that with us and protective. The father was looking to the floor, and they were not First Nations. He was looking to the floor because he was like something was burning
You're
inside.
upset.
And just saying, I see you are uncomfortable, and but let me explain you why you're probably asking why you are not discharging your baby. And I see you are a little angry. And he thought, I'm not saying he was nice or anything. It's good to, or some people can turn up, and then again, this is my personal experience. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but many times, and I don't know, maybe it happened to you, if something bad happens to you, you get angry. You get angry to somebody. Right? I don't know, my car is not working, but I get angry with the mechanic. And the mechanic.
Transfer of aggression.
Yeah. And sometimes just telling them, I see you are upset. I can notice you're a little bit upset. People say, true, I'm upset, but this poor lady has nothing to do with my, and that changes the tone of the conversation, right? Addressing emotion. So, and then tailor the conversation style to the parental style. And I'll show you some styles later. And some people want numbers, they want to know percentage. And some people get confused with numbers and they prefer this is common, this is uncommon. So just ask them what they prefer. And then support and involvement in decision making. So you are not, if there is, again, most of the times there are not many decisions that you have to make, right? But sometimes when you have to make decisions, how can I support you? We can make these decisions together. They are not alone. You are not presenting information and now do whatever. I'm here for you. So support that. So I put this to write because we are like very good communicators. Mostly Obama, which is the even any time I leave my husband, it will be to go with Obama. I will love with Obama. But life has been very unfair. We never met. So if you can tell they are both at the same level. They are both looking with the other. They are both a little bit inclined to the other, right? So just looking at the picture, you can tell they are like having a good communication, maybe an intimate conversation. And maybe they are just posing to the picture and they are not saying anything. But I just wanted to like a picture showing what to me looks a good body language for good communication. So, and then usually you're going to, it's a lot of information to digest for them. So, and sometimes they already know a lot and they have specific questions. So ask them, do you have questions before I start? And then listen, ask, talk slowly, and no medical jargon. So I went through the literature for antenatal consent, and all the studies I found were regarding extreme prematurity, right? Like when viability is a discussion. But I think you cannot apply like the general like rules to everybody. So what the studies show, and this is like a qualitative studies, so they did surveys to families asking what is important for you to know, what was your experience. So what they say is they want to know about complications. They want to know what is going to happen to their babies. But they also want to know what they can do. So it's not only telling them, well, this is a survival rate, and then the baby will go to an ICU, and we have a UVC, a UAC, and we won't feed because of the neck, and if he doesn't have a neck, could have a brain injury. And after all that, could be that your baby has problems walking, or talking, or seeing, or deaf, or so. But parents want to know what they can do. And it's like the things that we usually don't think about. How can I help my baby? Can I touch, hold my baby? Can I breastfeed? What is she going to look like, right? Are the organs for? That's something that they always ask. How will he be fed? Do I need clothes? So important to address those questions too, right? Even if it's at the limits of viability or if it's a big issue. And moreover, with babies that are not going to be so sick, right? So this is what they want to know. So they want to know about complications, and this is what they want to know. So survival, they say in the studies, I want to know about survival. I want to know about long-term outcomes, and we'll go through the long-term outcomes. And it will be disabilities, if that baby will need treatment for a long time, quality of life, right, important. Interventions in the delivery room, treatments in the ICU, how is baby going to look, and what the parents can do. And then offering a tool to an ICU, two studies that show that was important for families.
You do this tool in this in ICU?
Yeah.
For
You
each patient or whoever wants to do?
First, I ask them, do they want, well, first, for some, you can't, right? Let's say it's the lady is contracting, preterm labor, and she's already contracting, and she's going to deliver soon, and she has an IV, and she has a monitor. That baby is not going to be able to come to. But she can access, let's say, twins. One is a UTR. They think they are going to deliver, have to deliver them earlier because their UTR is showing signs of the flow is not good. And so I asked them, do you want to do to an ICU? And then I usually talk to the CR charge nurse, because the CR charge nurse is like that. So everything. And they usually contact or find necessary if they need grandparents or and they arrange everything. Sometimes can be at this when we finish the consult, sometimes they arrange for the next time they come to the assessment or another day and they can come. And to me, knowing the place the baby will go helps a lot. Because it's the same, right? If you are going to a place you don't know, you always feel more like reassured if you at least know the physical
Oriented
or
also.
oriented where you are, how does it look, right? It's not as a shock, so it's important. So we're going to talk about the first two first. survival is applicable, right? But sometimes it's not applicable. It is not about survival. Or let's say 33 weeks. If the mother is very worried, say, well, survival is excellent, unless an unexpected thing happens, right? It's not, I usually say, this is not the case, I'm concerned about survival. And long-term outcomes, so we'll talk about those. So, survival. We are very focused in gestational age. And gestational age is not everything. It's like money is not everything in life. Gestation age is not everything either. It's important, like money, but it's not everything. First, because it's always an estimate. Unless it's an in vitro fertilization, there is always an estimate. And we always say the best way to determine gestational age is the first trimester ultrasound. Still with that, like try and up to 7 days. So up to 1 week, right? And if you are 23 weeks, 22 weeks, 1 week, 1 week is a lot. So first, because of that. Second, because even if you have exact gestational age, there are other factors that will determine the survival that are not gestational age, but they are very important. So, it was a study done 2000, published in 2008 by the NICH. So, those were babies born in the United States, and they did a multivariable analysis, and they found that being female or singleton or having received antenatal steroids, for every 100 grams of weight made up for the same as 1 more week, each of those for survival and complete and long-term outcome. So let's say I'm a 23 weeker, but I'm female, I'm going to be do better than the male. Or if the weight is bigger, right? Or being a 25 weeker, but severely UTR will make my outcomes to be worse than not an UTR. So important to know. And then we talk about the second thing, long-term outcomes. So many doctors, healthcare providers have determined that cerebral palsy, visual impairment, deafness, and developmental disability, and we say developmental disability is less than 2 standard deviations of the mean. Those are my outcomes. So if I have a lady and I go to the room and I tell her, well, your baby is 22 weeks, and then, well, the possibility of having of being 2 standard deviations is below the mean for cognitive and what? Right? Those outcomes have been are good because they are easy to do statistics, but in life, I don't think they matter, or the importance could be different. So, and they have the same weight for statistics when we got the numbers. So it's the same thing being there, but managing perfectly with sign language, than having a cerebral palsy gross motor function classification 5, which means being on a wheelchair, not being able to feed, not being able to support your head. So for the numbers, it's the same way. Therefore, and then, I said, if you have a kid, what is more important, deafness or autism? not there. For your quality of life, right? Or having a very mild degree of cerebral palsy, or having a very, very bad attention issue. What's so be careful with that. And I don't have it. I don't have answers for this. It's just be careful. So this is our handout. And this is what I always look at before going to talk to for premature labor. I think we did it in 2001. And as that card I put there, I think it was very good at some point. And now we should have a better version. And so this is what we did. And it was coincidental when, because we used to resuscitate babies more than 24 weeks. And then the same discussions as with the 22 that are going on now happen with the 23 weeks. And we decided we were going to resuscitate, and we came up with this pamphlet that is still around. You find it here in the research home. And at St. Boniface Hospital, in a drawer where the pharmacy sits, there is a drawer with the pamphlets there at the bottom, and they are there. And at St. Boniface, you have the English and the French version. So in that pamphlet, we put the average weight or that gestational age, which is something important for parents to know, because sometimes they don't realize how small they are going to be, and you have to tell them in pounds, and you really like trying to do with your hands when 23 weeks is probably going to be like this. So the average weight and the approximate chances of survival, and for the lower gestational ages, at that point we decided we were going to use the Canadian neonatal network because our numbers were very small. So we said, well, it's better to have more statistically. So for 23, 24, 25, I think, we use the CNN, and then we use our own numbers. And if baby survives, chances of having a serious problem. And there is when I find myself in an uncomfortable situation when I go talk, because what is having a serious problem? And what we consider there was blindness, deafness, cerebral palsy, or developmental delay. So to make it very, very simple and say, well, chances of having a very serious problem with walking or hearing or seeing, or with problems with learning, things for everyday life, are. And then the pamphlet continues a little bit like explaining BPD and vision and everything. So when I go to consults for premature babies, I look at those numbers the same, but those numbers, because it's 10 years ago, if you go to the CNN numbers for the last published report, they improved a little bit. There is a 5 to 10% difference for the survival. And for that survival we use, because that's something important. I'm sure we are not going to go to limits of viability and that, but when you want to talk to survival, use the denominator you're using is important. So survival, all the babies at that gestational age, or only the babies that will be the resuscitation, or the babies who got admitted to an ICU because we could have done resuscitation, but they died in resuscitation. So the denominator is important when you talk to families, but I don't think that's a topic for today. But just to know that until we go to resuscitate the 22 liters. But my bias would be it has to change in many ways, the graphics too, not only the numbers. So, we said be careful with decision aids because there are more natural factors. So the NICHD, they came with this outcome calculator that is free and you can find online. So you just, I have it in my cell phone, because why to do calculations if you can do it online, right? And so, and you have a VP outcome estimator, outcome trajectory, outcomes estimator. So we go to outcomes estimator and we push there. You get to this, and it's for babies born 22 to 25. I think it's 25 plus 6. So you put the gestational age, the estimate gestational age there, the estimate threshold, which is an estimate tool, right? It's not another matter. Female, you know, singleton, and it gives you the number. Survival and developmental issues, impairments, cerebral palsy. So we talked about survival, long-term outcomes. Then let's talk about interventions in the delivery room, treatments in an ICU, problems, length of stay, and how it is going to look. So when we give the content of that, right, we all know for very premature babies, we are going to go through requiring a central line, not being able to feed at the beginning, of very little, so requiring because the bowel is immature, blah 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 blah. Let's say for 33 weeks, the problems are going to be different, right? It's going to stay with us mostly for feeding, it's not going to feed, for temperature regulation, and maybe for apnea, right? So you change your content. But then, how is it better just to talk? Is it better to have written resources, pamphlets? So some studies found benefits in pamphlets and written resources, other studies did not. And 2 studies found the two to an ICU was beneficial. So using visual aids. So I found a couple of studies, and I found the drawings very cool. So in this study, it was published in 2020. And they started giving something with visual information that parents could see and increase the comprehension of what the information was given, and it decreased the level of anxiety. So, and what I found very interesting in this study is that they found, they did some research, and they found that the populations that are at risk of having not so good comprehension was being alone, being in pain, which contractions, being on magnesium sulfate, being less than 25 years of age. First, language and language barriers, because it's a study and in the United States they put Spanish only, but I think that applies, should apply to any language. And having no health literacy, so health literacy, you can be very educated and not know about those issues. And the concern by the first year. Which I think it could translate concern by an experienced person. Now, I don't know how it changes. Does it change drastically at the second year? We can get Ismail like a randomized trial.
Is that a recommended single control trial?
But
Not randomized before.
but previously, being alone in pain, my initial sulfate less than 35 is 90% of the ladies being a prenatal, right?
It's interesting how they thought of doing this study, you know?
Yeah.
Very nice study.
Yeah.
And so they gave this then this pamphlet. And I should put our pamphlet with this pamphlet
Yeah.
to see the difference. And they explained, so they explained everything, but showing the drawings. And what I found very nice on these drawings, they on the like low at the right, it says care parents can provide for their baby, and they say you can change the diaper. So it includes things that parents can do that is important. So they explain that, they use that one. And what they saw is that and then they did like kind of a test for comprehension and for levels of anxiety. There was a questionnaire. And they found that it improved comprehension, but did not decrease anxiety, which I think is reasonable, right? Sometimes the more you comprehend, the worse the anxiety.
Yeah.
So, and then I found this other article. This one was published in 2019. And again, they gave visual aids, and I showed, to me, this is the best one that has copyright, so we cannot use it. And the question was, when we show this, will they understand better? And will the drawings change in how they put it? Will they know the drawings change the decision? Because this again was 22 to 26 weeks. So will seeing the drawings change the decision regarding resuscitating, not resuscitating? So that was the question. And they showed this. So to me, very nice because it like shows a picture of the size of the baby and all the devices that could be connected to the babies. And then the survival and the long term, to me, is very visual, right? Instead of percentages, like how many in the population, and then EPD and the LH and IOP and the so on. And they found that it improved the comprehension, but they did not impact the decision making. And to me, and they found also that 40% of the parents had the decision made before they talked to the doctor. And doctors could not tell which parents had the decision made or not. So to me, it's important. Almost half of it, when we have those difficult conversations, almost half of the people have already a decision made, and it doesn't matter what we say. So let's go to the last part. So what can parents do? So let's come back to winter. So this is Probably you saw it, right? Colostrum. So this and those emails that have circulated that at the beginning of only 50% of the parents about it, and then it went up to I think 60%. So they give their parents this, is system like the paper, and with a little kit that with signatures and I think it's a container to start something, and if they scan that QR code, and the QR code gets you to the Canadian Premature Foundation, to the part where I explain how to feed, how to pump, and to me, that's a very important part of the mental concept, talking about breastfeeding and the benefits of breastfeeding. So if you had to tell, so we always talk and we say it's very important to breastfeed, but if it's a preterm baby, that baby is not going to go to the breast, right? It is very preterm. So they need to pump. And they're going to provide it with pumps, electrical pumps here. And so what you tell, what you tell to their families? So you tell it's very important, these ladies, very important to pump, you need to breastfeeding, the benefits of breastfeeding for everything, whatever. When should they start pumping? When? What do you say?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible, better within the first 6 hours of life. And how often?
8 times in a day.
Yeah,
At
six, 6 to 8 times a day, so every 3 to 4 hours, right? So it's not whenever you feel okay, when you whatever. No, it's just now. And your job, and that's what you can really do for your baby. So start pumping. So breast milk always, and I talk about breast milk in every prenatal consult, even if it's for not for the person in God, but for other for everything. Donor breast milk, we always introduce the donor breast milk. You can get the consent in the prenatal consult. It's not the same as the transfusions. You can, the donor breast milk, you can. And even if you don't get the consent, like formally, at least you introduce the concept. But to me, donor breast milk is separate. First is breast milk. And donor breast milk is just to use until they have milk. And that's the way I tell them. To me, they need to know parents are extremely important. They are part of the treatment. They need to be in the unit. They need to touch their babies, the voice of their babies. But they need to know for the very premature babies, we do it 72 hours with trying not to rotate the head, and the head is up a little bit. And so we don't do, we could, but we don't usually do the kangaroo care in a person 72 hours.
Can I ask you a question about where did it come from? Why 72 hours?
That's it, they are not randomized trials. There is a potential benefit of, well, 72 hours because it's to prevent IVH, right?
Yeah.
And the IVH, most of them happen in the first 72 hours. So that's and there it makes sense that not moving the head and decrease a little intracranial pressure. And so we do it, but then it's not a strong recommendation. There is not any trial that I know that shows that it helps. But we do it. And so then I found these studies about what parents want to be communicated in the clinical context. And then it's again about premature babies, clinical variability. But I think it can be transpolated to every consult too. So they did a systematic literature review for the premature babies less than 26 weeks. Since 1990, they found all the articles could be interviews to parents from the delivery to years after. And they included 19 articles. And what they were looking for was the setting of the consult, which was not addressed in any of the studies they found, the timing, the preferred health care provider for the consult, the information the parents thought it was more useful for them, the resources like the pamphlets or things, and the parent-physician interaction. For the timing, what they found is that most of the people wanted to have a consult as soon as possible after they were hospitalized, but better in the daytime and not after in the morning, if possible. But they wanted it as soon as possible, but they wanted to give some time to process the problem. So not in triage, let's say, if there is time, right? Because sometimes we don't have time the other. Just have some time to realize what's going on and then to have the consent. And they really like to have a follow-up conversation after the first consent. For the preferred healthcare provider, they didn't show any preference. It's not that has to be a physician, but they show that the presence of a nurse to re-explain after the physician left was important. For the information, they really want to know about survival and long-term outcomes. They want the information in a way they can understand. They want to know more than statistics. So they want the numbers of more real world things, but not only numbers. Information tailored to their questions. Information about breastfeeding, what they can do with their babies again. They want not only the negative information, and that's important, and that's something I think is important when we give information in a prenatal consult or even for the babies in an ICU. So we always go and say, well, yeah, the baby is only born prematurely, so the risk of neck infections, if they don't die from infections, they will need a ventilator for a long time. They could go home on oxygen or not. And then they can breathe in the brain. Sometimes it's appears, but sometimes it's not. And but they need hope too. So, okay, we can have those things, but there are many babies who don't have any of those complications. And they just have normal life. So, giving hope, not only bad information. And they do not want to be repeatedly reminded about possible disabilities, which is something I think we do a lot. And not in the prenatal consult, but here. How many times we have the telling them that they're very worried, very concerned. And the nurse comes 2 hours later to tell you, you have to go and talk to this mother again. I don't think she understood what's going on because she's there and she's not crying and she's just there. And we understood. And it happened to me once that again it was I was my first day and the nurses told me this friend something sick, so I went to talk to his friends and they were in Mennonite. And I explained again. And the father looked at me and she said, you know, we have been told many times our baby could die, or if he survives, and he can have big problems in the future. We know all that. You understand, you don't need to remind us all the time because we love him and we want to be here for him. And the conversation. So when I saw this, I thought about that man. And honesty about uncertainties was value. So you don't need to know anything. The value, you say, you know, we don't know. These are numbers. We don't know what's going to happen. Or with the ladies with malformations that you don't completely understand, could be worse. It just, we'll see. We'll see when baby is born because we don't really know what's going to happen. And then they want to be involved in the decisions. But the preferences of the parents in the degree of the decision is different. They say some families would like more support from the doctors making the decisions. And I think that goes a lot with Julie's presentation, that you are on the same boat and you try to get to a good place with the boat, but you are not the one. You're not outside of the boat and the parents alone making the decision. You need to help them too. As usual, resources were found to be important in some studies, but not so beneficial in others. So for the way, in the same study, for the way of the physician interaction, so they want families value the physician who is sensitive, compassionate, attentive to family goals, that can build a relationship and that not use medical judgment. That's the concept. And hope was important to them. So negative statistics should be tempered with some hope. And the hope did not seem to limit the objectivity in the decisions. And then non-statistical, non-medical information was important. Other things in the studies were important or extended families or some, as you can see that in First Nations people is even they want to have the whole family to make the decisions. But I think for most of the cultures, extended families is extremely important. They are the ones who support the parents. Emotional stress and the lack of understanding is not contextual knowledge. So you need to go very basic in the explanations. It's just not breathing in the ventricles and what is the ventricles, right? You need to have the whole picture.
Can I ask something? Generally in your meetings, do you allow the member of extended family to be
To
there?
begin, yeah, well,
Other than parents?
before COVID, if they want to have, if the biological, if the parents want to have a family,
For example, grandfather, grandma,
And I had to make a contact before COVID of mothers coming with a friend instead of the father, because they were single mothers and they decided that a friend who was a very close friend, and that was a support person, and that's the person we trust.
Do we have a right to object? Because in some situations, for example, in very traditional family, some older family member interrupt conversation frequently and avoid to get in touch parents properly. So do you have right to object them to be attended?
Well, I always,
Sometimes, not always.
yeah, I
Sometimes.
always
If you
ask,
feel that.
I always ask them, well, I always try to direct the questions to the parents, not to them with more attention. And if they, I always ask the parents if they want that person in the hospital before, as I said, when the person is not in the room. If they come to make a contact, sometimes they come with that person. And then I try to do the conversation, all of us in the conversation. Yeah. So it's, I think, okay.
Is there time for a Q&A? I'll just keep it on the side, so.
Yeah, that's difficult, right? I think you need to tailor every interaction with families is different, and you need to try to like change. And I found a couple of articles talking about how we teach through the concept and how bad we were like with the communication. And some of them used actors to train fellows about how to do improv with acting in time to change. Because having like an open mind and trying to improvise better for communication. But I think in that case, we just need to improvise and see how the conversation takes you. Yeah, I'm thinking some cultures it's very difficult to go through. Once I had one lady from India, and there was a lady, and there was the mother-in-law in the room, and the mother-in-law was the one like in charge of everything. So, I was a fellow at that point, and it was me and Dr. Moise, and we our talk, and we left the room, and we said this was impossible because it's like the other lady was, it's like she was giving the order of everything. So we came again, and the lady was not there. And it broke my heart because that lady said that if she didn't have this baby, they would, the father would divorce her because they wanted that, I don't know, for their culture. She needed to have a baby, and she was already like 40 or something like that, and pregnancy, very premature, and that's something. What are you going to do with that, right? So.
Dr. Casey's had a question.
Hi, Cecilia.
Yes.
Cecilia, can you hear me? Yes, okay. I'm speaking as a person who has been in the business for forever. First of all, your talk was excellent. You covered all the bases. I just want to point out a few things that might help the learners. I'm still learning too. First is we have to have a balance or equipoise on how much to tell the parents or how much to discuss, because we do not want information overload. As you said, you may need a second meeting. You can't discuss everything, and then they will be all confused at the end. So we also have to be able to read the parents. That's a talent that you learn with experience. And we have to be pragmatic or practical. So none of this talking about medical terms, which most of them don't understand. That's very important. And the other thing is, ideally, yes, you said we should not be interrupted by phones or vocera, but unfortunately, if you are in Cedar and you're seeing a consult, then you could be interrupted. But I guess that's not our fault. So anyway, overall, very good talk.
It's not that you could be interacted, you will be interacted.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But we can always explain to them, excuse me, I'll just need to take this call, I'll be back. But the important thing is not to overload, information overload. That's the worst thing that can happen to parents. And the other last thing is give them the opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
It's not just us who are talking. They need to tell us how they're feeling, what their thoughts are. So that's what makes the consult a bit long, but that's a given. Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you for the comments, and I think that's what I want to highlight, that you need to tailor the information to what the parents' interest and what they are asking, and to the level of what they can take. Because sometimes you go, the lady's having contractions every 3 minutes.
Yes.
What are you going to say? She cannot pay attention, right? So I try to say just, I want you to know we are going to be here for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk later, because this is not the moment to talk.
Yes.
So, I didn't put it, but there was one of the studies where they showed that they wanted to do some training with the fellows regarding the concept. So they gave them a template of the topics they should talk through. But this was a simulation, right, with actors. So so you are a fellow, so what the fellow tried to do was to go to tick all the boxes, and then the actor said, this person was totally insane. I was telling, I can't pay attention, and she was like trying to explain me what's going to happen when the baby is 5 years old. So true, you cannot do that, right? You need to tailor. I'm reading philosophy lately in my spare time. And I read this Greek philosopher. So that saying that he was referring to life, and he said that life is not a dance when you can practice and calculate every movement, but it's like a boxing match where you need reflexes to move and adapt. And I think our interaction with parents are like a boxing match. It's like you can prepare your dance the best you could. You need to prepare your dance the best you could. But then be prepared to not do your dance, to have to jump or to like do different movements, because it's going to be a boxing match.
Yeah. Agree.
So I think well, for some reason now this is not.
We have a little mouse.
If you click on the screen. If you can click on the screen. Yes.
Yeah. So for that, I'm almost done here. For that study, I was saying that what the parents want, they came with this propose strategies to facilitate communication during antenatal consultation, which is more or less what we were talking about, and which you can read after. Because I put all the references at the end. There is another thing that you can read, and I use to prepare this presentation too, is the CPS statement, counseling and management of anticipating, and it tells, it gives you some tips regarding communication too. And to me, this is my conclusion is antenatal consults need some planning and research to give accurate information, but be prepared to improvise, adapt to the family style, adapt to the situation, listen, because many times the concerns or questions are different what you plan. Uncertainty is acceptable, and you can say plans can be changed. You can decide, and that's something I try to tell the parents, even in those, you can make a decision, and then when the baby is born, that decision can change. Even if you decided not to intervene, and then the baby comes out crying, it's 200 grams bigger than we thought, plans need to be changed. And then document everything, because that's important for the person coming after you. And these are my references, and that you can read the articles if you are interested. I don't know if you have more questions.
That was
It was very excellent.
Excellent. That was great.
Thank you so much.
And
You cover everything.
Thanks, Cecilia.
thank you, Rebecca.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. If you have, so in every of the pods, you have these pamphlets, the neonatal intensive care unit. This is information for parents. When they get admitted here, they give them this pamphlet. They give this too. This explains that they can be transferred to other places when they are ready or whatever. And this explains what the NICU is, how rounds are conducted, who the social worker is, who parental is, and then at the end gives you sites with that you can go, and there are links to breastfeeding, to being with your baby in ICU, to that are very nice to know, to the information to parents. And because that's something we need to be aware to. So, because I don't think we know all the things that parents get as resources, we should at least know what we are giving. And I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
Actually, how long this meeting should be?
The consult.
Yeah.
To me, it
Is there any
depends.
limitation?
To me, it depends on the consult. Some of them are very short because, as I said, you cannot say much. And others, they start, the family starts asking you, and they get longer. Sometimes you are prepared, and as I said, for 5 minutes, and you end up spending 1 hour because the problem or the question by the parents is totally different. My last week was in Boston. I had one prenatal consult that was lateral dysplastic kidney. With the other kidney that looked totally normal, the amount of amniotic fluid was okay, it was clean, so I said, I went to consult, I go for coffee. I'm going to say it's only one kidney, right? So we are going to check when the baby is born, we're gonna the ultrasound, and then probably refer to urology, nephrology. They shouldn't have problems in the So I go there and said, okay, so another thing that I used to do, but I don't know if that's my, when I go to the talk to the parents, I tell them, well, you and I'm here because they can really have a problem, and this is what I know about you. But sometimes the information I get is not correct or is not complete. So I tell you what I know, and you please correct. So you are pregnancy and you have really this problem with kids. So can you tell me what you know so far? What else you know? So she looks at me and she's like, the only thing I did different in this pregnancy is that I took the COVID vaccine. And that is the reason my baby has a problem with the kidney. So she wasn't worried about is he going to have, is my baby going to have a problem peeing? She was like,
Was the COVID vaccine
she
giving
was
us?
blaming the vaccine, which I tried to explain was not the reason. Because at some point, I said, I changed the topic because at some point I realized it was the discussion didn't have sense because she wasn't going to change her mind. So I said, well, you know, what at least one when the is gone. So I made my coffee. Because it took 1 hour. So that's what I think. It's like, and sometimes I have concerts where many times. So I say, do you have questions? And gynecologist, therapist, sure, you have questions. The question is, when can I go home? So it's because they called me for she had a broken water and she's not leaking anymore and she wants to go home. And she's not worried about the delivery because it's true, it's not worried anymore. She's worried about her other 5 kids at home and she wants to go home. So don't start talking things and things when her question is a different question, which is not me who has to answer. I just have sufficient. So
Yeah, I have a question. Like, is there any time, especially if you have a difficult or complex case and like it needs like palliative care? Is there any time you would like to like consult spiritual care?
Yes.
Apart from the palliative care in person, spiritual care, do you like sometimes involve them, like especially for those that are very religious?
Spiritual care,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
You can involve spiritual care, and you ask them solely,
Like if they want, yeah.
first, and yes.
Okay.
I do that with consults. I do that with patients here. When we got some patients, not one patient last time, I was in Birch here. That was very sick. And I asked the mother if she wanted spiritual care. She said yes, it came. And you can do it in the consults too.
Oh.
But I don't know if you have the chance to have a consult with palliative care, with the team, with Simone. She's amazing. I think it's like having a class about how to communicate with people, having contact with them. It's amazing.
has good resources, and she has like one-liners of
Yeah.
what to say.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. She's happy to share them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
one.
it's,
Like, sometimes you're stuck, you don't know what to say. So she has a lot of suggestions of what to say, like one sentence.
yeah, she's very good.
Yeah.
She also has, there is, she sent me the contact, there is, for psychological support for, it's just for women, who lost, like pregnancies or babies, you can consult. It is very important, it's very valuable. I think that's it. I got tired.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Comprehensive.
It's pleasure
I think it should be repeated on a bigger scale, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think
There's a
so.
lot. I think so. There's a lot of effort put in.
But to me, what I would do if I were you, just explore a little bit those resources we have for parents and we don't even know we have. The other resource to explore is the Canadian Premature Baby Foundation that you can find online. They have lots of resources for parents. And you can tell the parents, go to the site and they have lots of resources. May I remind you again, when you are working in an ICU and you do something with the EPA, send the EPA